There's been a lot of talk about who Tim Bradley's next opponent is going to be following his ninth round TKO victory over Brandon Rios. Now, obviously, there's a lot of people who say that Rios was a dead man walking and that this Bradley victory over Rios wasn't really that impressive because he was the favorite. He was expected to win anyway. But then there are other people who say, okay, Rios was weight drained, but they saw technical improvements in Tim Bradley. They saw more energy, and nobody expected, or very few people expected, Tim Bradley to actually stop Brandon Rios. So there's kind of two schools of thought on his victory over Rios. But whatever the case may be, Tim Bradley, from a PR point of view, from a popularity point of view, he's probably in the best position he's ever been in his whole career right now, because all the other victories that Tim Bradley's had in his career, or fights that he's had against big name opponents, have all been, or most of them have been, controversial. The Pacquiao fight, the first one, was controversial. The Marquez fight, even though I felt he won it fairly clearly, there was still a sizable contingent of people who felt that Marquez actually won that fight. The fight that he had with Devon Alexander, there was headbutt controversy. The Provodnikov fight, a lot of people felt Provodnikov won it. So controversy follows Tim Bradley wherever he goes. But yet this is the first fight, the fight he had with Rios against a big name opponent. Rios was definitely not the best fighter that Bradley's ever beat, not by a long shot. But in terms of being a big name, this is the first big name opponent that Bradley's beaten in a long time, probably since maybe Marquez, or maybe going back to the Peterson fights. The first big name opponent he's beat where he's got 100% praise for it rather than getting any criticism. Rios has definitely got a lot of criticism for the fight, for being weight drained and whatnot, not taking his training seriously or not taking his health seriously in between fights. But in terms of Bradley, no one's criticizing him. They're all praising him for his performance and being able to stop Brandon Rios. So his popularity among boxing fans is at an all-time high right now. So that puts him in a great position to go on and fight a super fight against a very, very big opponent. Maybe a rematch with Pacquiao, maybe Mayweather if he comes out of retirement, or another name which people are talking about, which Bradley has actually mentioned before his fight against Brandon Rios, which is a potential fight against Canelo Alvarez. Now, obviously, Alvarez has got Cotto problems right now. He's got to try and deal with Cotto. We don't know how that fight's going to turn out. But assuming Alvarez is able to beat Cotto, what do you think about a potential fight between Canelo and Tim Bradley? Again, there are two schools of thought on this. Some people are just going to say, nah, Canelo's too big for Bradley. If Provodnikov was able to have him out on his feet and nearly beat him, then Canelo's going to absolutely destroy Tim Bradley. That's one school of thought. But the other school of thought says, you know what? Tim Bradley's looking better under Teddy Atlas. He's improving him technically. We know that Tim Bradley's as game as they come, so he's not going to be intimidated or anything like that against Canelo. And with this discipline that Atlas is adding to his game, we know that Tim Bradley's got quicker feet than Canelo. We know he's an athletic guy. Maybe he can stick and move and stick to a game plan and be able to actually outbox Canelo in a 12-round fight. Also, you'd have to figure that Bradley will be able to keep up a higher work rate than Canelo in a 12-round fight. Is Canelo any quicker on his feet? We know he's a much better fighter than Brandon Rios and he's much stronger and what have you. But is he any quicker on his feet than Brandon Rios? Will Bradley just be able to, Sugar Ray Leonard him, throwing them triple left hooks and jabbing and moving and dance his way to victory, trading in spots and moving in spots? Will he be able to do that? And Bradley's promoter said something very interesting the other day about the whole situation. He said that, and Bob Arum obviously, he said he won't allow Bradley to fight Canelo above 155 pounds. Very interesting choice of words. He won't allow him, which infers that he has ultimate control over what Bradley does, which won't surprise most of you, but still, it's interesting when he comes out with an overtly controlling statement like that. He won't allow him to do it. Or maybe he was just talking, maybe it was a throwaway comment and he didn't really mean it like that. You let me know what you think. But it raises an interesting question. Would Canelo try to fight Bradley above 154, 155 pounds if he actually fights him, let's say he beats Cotto and he's going to set up a Bradley fight, would he try and fight him above 155? Because if he did, he would incur a hell of a lot of criticism for it, because people would say, oh, so you can fight Bradley at 158 or 160, a guy who's a blown up 140 pounder, but yet you can't fight GGG at 160? What's the deal with that? Me personally, I don't think Canelo would dare do that. I think he would just come under far too much criticism for taking on a blown up 140 pounder at anything close to 160. And let's not get it twisted. That's what Bradley really is. He really is a blown up 140 pounder. This guy is a small welterweight, not just in terms of height, because Bradley's short. He's only like 5'6", but also in terms of weight. Against Rios, I believe he was 152 pounds or something like that in the ring. The welterweight limit is 147. This guy's only weighing 152 on fight night. That's nuts. He's tiny. Most of the welterweights are weighing in the 160s or above on fight night. So Bradley really is a very small guy. Brandon Rios, for example, was weighing 170 plus on fight night against Bradley. So Bradley's a tiny guy, but you won't find anyone as brave and game as Bradley. Yeah, this guy has got a heart the size of America. This guy really is very game, and in fact too game for his own good sometimes, and that's something that Teddy Atlas is going to have to try and rein in. Bradley's far too game, and that's something I've always admired about Bradley, even though it has led to his demise, or nearly led to his demise on several occasions. You can't help but admire a guy who's, he's only a little guy, a little midget of a guy who can't punch, but yet he's willing to trade with some of the biggest punches in the sport of boxing fearlessly. He's willing to go up there and fight Canelo, a guy who's way bigger than him, way more powerful. And Bradley's not even going to be a little bit scared. You have to admire that kind of heart. You have to. But is it a foolish bravery on Tim Bradley's part? Or does he know something? Has he seen something in Canelo that he thinks he can exploit? Do you think Teddy Atlas will go for that fight? Even though Teddy Atlas is saying he don't really have much control over who Bradley fights. He just trains him, to fight whoever. Do you think Teddy Atlas would look at that and think, yeah, I'd like that fight for Bradley, actually. I reckon Bradley's got the speed and the experience and the savvy to maybe old man Canelo and get the victory in that fight. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Can Bradley beat Canelo? Is that a good fight? Is that a fight you'd like to see? Personally, as I say, because Tim Bradley's popularity at the moment, I think, is probably at an all-time high. Because of that, I think the public would respond pretty well to a Canelo Bradley fight at this point. I don't think they would have that hard a time selling that fight. It's obviously not as big as Canelo against Miguel Cotto, which we're about to see, but after the Cotto fight, that's maybe apart from a Golovkin, because Canelo ain't gonna fight Golovkin anytime soon. That's abundantly clear. If you take that out of the equation, if you're talking about right now, other than Cotto and Golovkin, Bradley might be, and other than maybe Pacquiao, but Pacquiao Canelo's never gonna happen. Other than those guys, Bradley's probably the biggest guy for Canelo between 147 and 154. Bradley Canelo's probably the biggest fight out there other than the ones I just mentioned. So some people may say Khan against Brook or Khan against whoever. That's fair enough comment, but still, Bradley Canelo would be a big fight, and I think the majority of boxing fans would take to it quite warmly. I don't think Canelo would try and push it above 155. He would take far too much criticism for doing so, and either way, Bob Arum wouldn't allow Bradley to do it, according to him. So drop your comments below, people. Let me know what you think about a potential fight between Canelo Alvarez and Tim Bradley. Do you think Bradley could actually win that fight? Do you think Canelo would take it? Would it be too much of a risk for Canelo to take that fight? Imagine getting beat by a blown-up 140 pounder. Would Golden Boy even want him to take that fight? We know that Golden Boy are working with Top Rank. They got no problem. Now that Richard Schaefer and Heyman are no longer associated with Golden Boy, we're seeing plenty of Top Rank Golden Boy collaborations. But would Golden Boy, we'll see how the Cotto fight goes. If he destroys Cotto, maybe Golden Boy will be confident of matching Canelo against Tim Bradley. But if he struggles, if it's controversial, and they're hanging on by a thread to Canelo's credibility in the game, maybe they'd try and steer away from a Bradley Canelo fight. Maybe they'd think, nah, man, he's going to destroy the cash cow. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, people. It's your boy Hatman, I'm out.